Thank you, Jonathan. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for having me here today to share with you Finca's journey in measuring and developing a management system to measure social performance. Finca, as many of you will know, we wanted to actually go and move from good intentions and start measuring not only the outputs of our work, but actually the outcomes of our work. And it wasn't an easy thing, as you can imagine, so I'm gonna share with you what that journey was. Okay. Finca, as many of you may know, is an international nonprofit organization that has the mission to alleviate poverty through lasting solutions that build assets, generate employment, and improve the standard of living of people. And we want to do this through a network of social enterprises that really improve people's lives. We started 30 years ago, and we started initially by developing a methodology that wanted to trust the poor through the delivery of credit and hoping that they will pay it back. And through our experience, that happened in very high terms. We have on-time repayment rates of 98%. Our portfolio at risk is less than 2%. And over time, we realized that the methodology that we had with some adaptations can work in any part of the world. And today, we serve 1.8 million people around the world in 23 countries. Our loan portfolio is $900 million, and our average loan sizes are about $350. This portfolio rotates 3 times a year around the world. And the truth of the matter is that, throughout the years, one of the things that we have been doing to measure our work has been the outputs. How much are we lending? How much is being paid back? What is the average loan size that we provide? That's what we have been measuring. And over time also, we're talking about sustainable enterprises and scalable enterprises, which is the conversation that we've been having today. One of the things that we were able to do initially was to, in fact, after testing our methodology, be able to think about, can those efforts that we're having in these 23 countries become sustainable? Can we generate enough income that they can pay for their own operations? The second 10 years of our life was dedicated to that. Then we moved to the third decade, and that was, can we actually pay for the cost of capital now that we can pay for our own operations? Is it possible for us to do that? And later on, can we attract investment capital? So our business model is one that combines donations with commercial capital and investment capital. So for every dollar that I can get from a donation, I can mobilize 40 cents of investment capital, and that $1.40 can be leveraged 5 times with commercial capital, and that rotates 3 times in our system, serving many, many millions of people. So that is really, when you're talking about sustainability and scalability, we figure it out, and we are able to do that. But then the question comes, is all of that actually moving the needle? Are you actually getting the outcomes that you are intending? Not just on outputs, not just about, how many schools have we built? Have kids finished elementary school, high school? Have they gone to universities? That's what we wanted to really do with our work. We wanted to know, are these loans actually building assets? Are they generating employment? Are people better off or not? And it wasn't an easy task, as you can imagine, because, we are actually measuring performance of our people in the field through the portfolio that they are placing and through the repayment rates that they're getting. We're not measuring their performance on, has Juanita improved her housing conditions? Has she generated jobs? So we started by really helping the organization come together and defining what social performance meant for Finca. And initially, our social performance was very much, let's see if I don't think I can do this, was measured on the level of who are we reaching, because we knew that we wanted to reach people that were poor. And we had a ton of internal debates at Finca thinking about, should we be talking about helping women? Should it be about people that live in the rural areas, because we know that's where poverty is the hardest? Should we be talking about people that make $1 a day, $2 a day, below the poverty line? That was initially a lot of controversy internally in the organization. So we needed to come together and first and foremost define what social performance meant for the organization. And we ended up defining it in 5 dimensions. The first dimension was about outreach, which was the genesis of what we thought we were about. We wanted to ensure that we were giving access, financial access, to people that were underserved, people that were at the bottom of the pyramid. And of course, the no-brainer was women, because they comprise 70% of the poorest in the world. The no-brainer was people in the rural areas, but even with this, internally we have a debate, because what does rural mean, really? In some cases, in many of the countries where we operate, outside of the capital city, everything is rural. So is it about population density? Is it about the type of enterprises that happen in that community? What does rural mean? So coming to an agreement internally was a little difficult. The most difficult for us was actually who is the target audience within the poverty scale? Is it the ones that are making $1 a day, $2 a day, or those people below the national poverty line? In our organization, we have these huge debates. We had, for example, our director for Russia saying, well, in Russia, someone that makes $1 a day or $2 a day will be dead. So that doesn't make any sense here. So we ended up actually deciding to measure the national poverty line of each country. And I will explain a little bit the level of work that we had to do in order to get us there. The second dimension, which is very much linked to the business that we do, which our business is lending money and mobilizing financial services. It was about enterprise development. And are we actually generating jobs with the microloans that we provide? Are people increasing their incomes? And are they generating profits in their business? We wanted to know that. We also wanted to measure a third dimension, which is the standard of living. We wanted to measure, are people improving their housing conditions? Are they better off health-wise? Are they eating better? And are their kids going to school? That's what we wanted to measure. The fourth dimension, so our social performance has 5 dimensions. I mentioned about outreach, I mentioned about employment generation, I mentioned the dimension of improving the standard of living. The fourth dimension is related to how do we actually empower people? And I hate using the word empowerment because it's overused, but in Finca's case, empowerment means are people fulfilling their aspirations when they come to us? And it's also related to women. How many businesses that are being created are being led by women? And how many women are being hired as a result of those businesses? That's what empowerment means for us. And the fifth dimension relates to being responsible as a financial institution. That means being transparent with our clients in regards to the interest rates that they pay, the fees associated with the services that we provide, ensuring that the benefits and salaries that we pay locally are at par with what goes in the country, and having people mobility and working with the communities where we operate. That's what it means for us being socially responsible. And all of these, of course, needed to be then, after we define it, we had agreement and we said, okay, for us, this is what social performance means. Now, what? How do we measure it? You know, how are we going to measure this? And we decided to develop a few tools that will allow us to do that. One tool is the Finca Household Survey. And that actually is a survey that measures living standards of our clients. We have been doing this for many, many years, but it was done ancillary to our business. We are now trying to incorporate it as part of the business so that on an ongoing basis, we're collecting that data. And we also develop an enterprise survey, one that will allow us to know whether we are generating employment, increasing incomes, et cetera. But it's not just that, actually, because what it also does, it provides the market intelligence on the needs of our clients so that the products are not what we think they need, but what they actually need, and it's coming through the data collection and intelligence that we're getting. And so that the products that we develop going forward as a result of their interests and needs. So that is now part of the business too. So our social performance data is informed by the market intelligence on our clients, what they're saying. And then we, as you probably know, those that are involved in research, data cleanliness is one of the toughest things. You know, 40% of data that's collected gets thrown away because it's data that doesn't work. It has a lot of mistakes, and just you have to discard it. So how do we ensure that we have good data? Because imagine that, you know, we are in Malawi, we're in Haiti, collecting data in the field, and by the time it gets to us for analysis, it's been a few weeks, and then we find out that the addresses are not right, that the composition is not accurate, et cetera. Taking that back to the field and doing that is just pretty much impossible. So 40% of that normally has to be discarded. So we had to figure it out how to collect the data in a way that we could all stand on and make sure that this is accurate data. So through that process, we develop an algorithm in our server that on time, on the very moment that this has happened, it allows you to say through technology to know that the data is wrong, that you have to look at it again. It would also allow us to have the people that are supervising those enumerators in the field to know where the mistakes are being made so that we could also be able to identify whether that person that's taking the information, you know, might not be doing it right, wasn't trained, or whatever the issue is. That has really helped a lot because then the data that we collect is data that we can stand on, and it's very clean and we cannot poke holes to it and can be trusted. And then we had to think about baselines. You know, when you're thinking about measuring social performance, how are you going to know whether you're moving the needle or not? It has to be from the creation of baselines. Where are you today? And that was a scary thing, actually, for our people in the front lines, because we have been talking a lot about the fact that we're alleviating poverty. We have been talking a lot about the fact that we are helping the poorest. And yet, we were afraid that the data could show that, in fact, we were not doing that. And so that was something that, you know, was an important thing for us to know. And convincing people internally that that was not a bad thing or a judgment thing. What it was a photograph in time so that we could know where we were starting and where we wanted to move towards. And that's something that we needed to do. So to get to those baselines, we work with experts in the field of research. We work with people from the World Bank that allows us to get the data of the national census bureaus so that we could actually depict clearly what poverty meant in Haiti, as compared to what poverty meant in Russia or Uganda or in any of the 23 countries where we operate. And then we look at our clients and see where we fit. You know, how does poverty look like and where are we today? So that we could know where we were starting with. So that was a very, very important piece of work, and it took us a year, actually, as you can imagine. You know, we have certain countries, for example, Haiti, that wouldn't share their census data. They just, you know, the government didn't want to share that with us. So we were able to, however, for the most part, 22 out of the 23 countries able to get that kind of information. So this is a little bit of what I already spoke about, the importance of cleanliness of data. So I'm going to talk a little bit more now about, so here we are, we have defined it, we know what indicators we want to track, we have created the baselines, and now how do we manage it? You know, what do we do to manage this? So what we decided to do is to create a scorecard. A scorecard, first, that one, we provided a weight to each of the 5 dimensions that we have chosen. And then we decided to give it a weight on the basis of where we felt we had the greatest impact. And clearly, we had the greatest impact in the area of employment generation because we are financing enterprises. So we gave it a 25% weight in the scorecard. This is just to show you how it works. So we have the metrics, we have developed the indicators, we will have the baselines for each country. We have given it a weight to each of the metrics and each of the indicators. And then we are pegging the targets to the top, the net operating margin of the subsidiary. And why are we doing this? Because if someone is actually profitable and making, let's say, 6% profits, we're asking them to grow their poverty outreach and the social metrics by 6%. If a subsidiary is struggling with sustainability still, then we ask him to stay in the same level as we're trying to reach sustainability. And this is something that the subsidiaries themselves, you know, after we give them the baseline and the suggested targets, they come back to us and say, okay, this is what I think I can do, my contribution, you know, because in certain areas, for example, let's pick Kyrgyzstan as an example. Their greatest contribution is working in the rural areas. They have a lot of their clients there, and 80% of their clients are women. You know, their contribution to our social performance are in that area. While in other places, it could be employment generation, like in Georgia, for example. So they actually make a decision on where they're going to focus their social performance, and they commit to it, and then they're measured on those bases on a monthly basis, because also it's not only about setting targets, but it's also about giving them the tools that can help them target the population that they want to help. Because otherwise, how can you really know whether you're doing well or not? It's like financial performance. You know, you get your variance report every month, and you know how are you doing. In the same manner, they will get a social performance variance report on a monthly basis that will show them, are they getting towards the targeted place? And we also needed to, of course, beyond that, think about as an organization, what else needed to happen. A part of it is the creation of policies so that the entire organization is on the same page. So we included an extra chapter in the global manual that we have for policies at Finca that is all about social performance. And in that, we actually create the role for the board. You know, what is that the board needs to do in regards to approving the social goals of the organization. We have the policies regarding the products that need to be created that responds to the need of the population that we really want to target. So a big piece to the work that we're doing is related to policy development. The second thing, it's also about training, because we needed to train the board about this agenda of social performance. What do we really want to execute here, and how are you going to set the targets, monitor the performance and the remedial cases that you need to do. But it goes beyond that, actually, because we also have an internal audit function in the organization that traditionally has been internal audit for financial performance. That internal audit now has also the job of measuring how we're doing in regards to the social performance. Are the boards adopting the policies that we had set to do? Is this being monitored on an ongoing basis? And what are we going to do in order to take remedial cases? And so that's, in a nutshell, the journey that Finca has taken to develop the social performance. So today, we have baselines for all but Haiti, for the reasons that I explained. And we have the target set for all of our countries in regards to the social performance that we want each of them to do. We have the screening tools that allow our credit officers to be in the field and identify the client that we want. And we have the reporting mechanism that on an ongoing basis is going to show them how they're doing. And then we have an audit function that is going to go and look for the integrity of the whole system in the organization. So a year from today, I will be coming to you and telling you the results of this. You know, how much are we moving the needle, in fact, in regards to social performance?